नमस्ते गुरुजी।
नमस्ते। ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि Om. So namaste once again everyone.
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
So we were seeing the
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
Namaste. इदं शरीरं शृणु सूक्ष्म संगीतं लिंगं त्वपञ्चीकृतभूतसम्भवं सवासनं कर्मफलानुभावकं स्वाज्ञानतो नादिरुपाधिरात्मनः स्वप्नो भवत्यस्य विभक्त्यवस्था स्वमात्रशेषेण विभाति यत्र. So in the last class, I said that this sloka is in an irregular meter. But then I was wrong. When I actually preparing the notes for this, when I went through the sloka again, I found that it has been set to Trishtup meter. Trishtup meter is one of the meters used in Vedas, which has got 44 syllables in 4 padas each. So this is actually, there is a meter in that. I was not correct in, I couldn't feel that in the last class, but afterwards I could make it out. Okay. So we are discussing the details of the topic of Sukshma Shariram. So after listing out the parts of Sukshma Shariram as 8 cities or Puris, Puryashtakam, in Sloka 28, in this Sloka, which is Sloka 29, the Acharya describes the Sukshma Shariram in further detail. We also saw that the Sukshma Shariram is also called Linga Shariram because it evidences or it reveals, manifests the consciousness principle by borrowing consciousness. And therefore, Sukshma Shariram plays a very significant role in the spiritual pursuit. And that is why all the qualifications envisaged in the Sadhana Chatushte Sampatti relates to the management of the parts of Sukshma Shariram only. Effective, efficient management of Sukshma Shariram is the key to moksha. And we were discussing towards the end of last class, this Sukshma Shariram is called Upadhihi. Upadhihi Atmanaha, he says. Upadhihi, I told you, is a technical word. Rough translation is a adjunct. Adjunct means what? Something which is separate but at the same time attached. Like we have, letters and all that, enclosures, attachments, like that. It is a part of it, but it is not actually a part. It can be separated also. So upadhi can be defined as an object or thing which makes some other object or some other thing appear differently. So upadhi can change the appearance of some other object. And I also gave you the classic example of a red flower when placed near a clear crystal, which makes the colorless crystal appear red. Here, in this example, the red flower is the upadhi, and the one which undergoes a change in appearance is called upahitam. And we also saw another example of Sureshwaracharya, that when an iron rod is immersed partially in a bowl of water, the rod will appear bent at the point when it touches the water, even though factually the iron rod is not bent. The appearance of the rod being bent is made possible by water, which is the upadhi. In fact, according to the scriptures, all three bodies, Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharirani, are all upadhis. And here, since the Acharya is discussing the topic of Sukshma Shariram, he says Upadhi Atmanah. Therefore, first of all, we have to understand that all the three Sharirams are called Upadhihi for the Jivatma. Now, why are they called Upadhihi? Because the Atma, which is originally Paramahatma, Paramaha Atma, in the proximity of these three Sharirams, gets distorted and appears as Jivatma. And in this, the Sukshma Shariram plays a very important role. Because the original Atma, which is Paramatma, is Akarta and Abhokta, non-doer and non-enjoyer. But in the presence of this Sukshma Shariram, this Upadhi in the form of Sukshma Shariram, it becomes, or to be put it correctly, appears to become Karta and Bhokta. So this distortion of Akarta into Karta, Abhokta into Bhokta, immortal into mortal, limitless into limited, this distortion that this is caused by this Sukshma Sharira. And as long as we don't know that Sukshma Shariram is only an Upadhi, we will conclude that we are all Jivatmas, we are Karta Bhoktas, we are limited, we are mortals. All display is of this Upadhi, mainly Sukshma Sharira. Therefore, Acharya says, Swa Ajnanataha Anadihi Upadihi Atmanaha. Swa Ajnanataha, because of self-ignorance. Ignorance of our real higher nature. And also because of the ignorance of the nature of the Upadhi. The Sukshma Shariram has distorted our real nature, which indeed is Atmanaha. Therefore, the Paramatma appears to be or appears as Jivatma. Thus, the Sukshma Shariram has become a distorting Upadhi for Anadihi Atmanaha, the omnipresent Atma. Anadihi Anantaha. It is this Atma, Paramatma has been there from beginningless times and it is eternal. It's an eternal Atma. Now, the next question is, we understand all these things. This is the distorting factor. How to get rid of this Upadhi so that the Atma can regain its real higher nature. I will rephrase this question in the context of the example of Sureshwaracharya in Naishkarmya Siddhi. The rod is bent under the water. What should we do to make the rod straight? The impulsive answer will be simple. Take the rod out of water, then the bent rod will become straight rod. But that is not the correct answer. In fact, the question should be, what should we do to make the rod straight without touching the rod? Then what will be the answer? The answer is, you don't need to do anything. If you understand that water is only a upadhi, it's the water as upadhi only is making the rod appear bent. But in fact, even when the rod is immersed in water, the rod continues to be straight only. If you understand that this bent thing is only an appearance, we need not really do anything except have a clear understanding that the distortion is just an illusion. There is really no distortion. Understanding is what is required. So a jnani is one who only uses the Sukshma Sharira for his transactions with the world. He knows clearly that as long as the Sukshma Shariram is there, I will appear to be a Jivatma, to be a finite being. But I am not a finite being. I am only appearing to be a finite being. In reality, I am the infinite Atma. And I need not do anything to change that illusory state. Therefore, a jnani is one who has understood and he continues to function as Jivatma in the presence of Sukshma Sharira Upadhi. But he remembers that I appear as Jivatma for all others because of this Sukshma Sharira Upadhi, but I was, I am, and I ever will be Paramatma only. Aham Brahmasmi. So the short point here is Sukshma Shariram is a Upadhi. Now the next question is, when did all this Upadhi business start? Acharya says Anadhi. It is an eternal Upadhi, beginningless times it has been there. There is no Adi, means there is no beginning. Because even during Pralayam, when the current Sukshma Sharira gets dismantled, we still have got the Karana Shariram, in which all the future Sukshma Sharirams are potentially there. So in the next Srishti, another Sukshma Shariram, in fact, several Stula Sharirams also will come and go to that next creation cycle. During that cycle, one Sukshma Shariram will be there, but different Stula Sharirams. And this process will go on endlessly, Srishti after Srishti. So how did the whole thing start? It all started with what you can say Ajnanam or ignorance. When did ignorance start? In fact, when we later study Karana Shariram, we will see that even Ajnanam is also Anadi. Beginningless times, this ignorance has been there. Therefore, Sukshma Shariram is always there, either in active form or in potential form. And therefore, the Acharya says, Anadi Rupadhir Atmanaha. So, for the Jivatma, Sukshma Shariram is beginningless Upadhi, the conditioning factor, the illusory factor. In fact, the word Upadhi is very difficult to translate also. As Pujya Swamiji says, the best translation for Upadhi is Upadhi. But to understand, in terms of English language, we say it is an adjunct or it's a conditioning factor, illusory factor and all. To understand what exactly is this Upadhi, and then examples also we see. So,
Guruji, sorry to interrupt you, Guruji. Can we say this as a superimposing illusion?
Yeah, the superimposition, will come to that later.
Okay.
Why it happens is superimposition, but that all, it's too early to talk about superimposition now. Right now, it's ignorance of the original nature. That's what you have to understand. Okay.
Thank you.
So, Swa Ajnanataha Anadihi Upadihi Atmanaha. Due to ignorance of one's real nature, the Upadhi is considered to be one's real nature. That is what is happening. Then in the third line of the shloka, the Acharya says, Swapno bhavati asya vibhaktiyavastha. He says, because in the Stula Shariram, when we talked about, he said, Jagrad Avastha, waking state is identified with the Stula Shariram, this gross body. Here he says, there is a particular state of experience especially associated with the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body. So we have got 3 bodies and we have got 3 states of experiences also. Each state of experience is connected to a particular one of the 3 bodies. Physical body is associated with the waking state. Waking state is not possible if we do not identify it with the physical body. Therefore, Stula Shariram and Jagrad Avastha are connected. Now, in this third line of the 29th verse, the author is connecting Sukshma Shariram with the dream state, Swapna Avastha. Therefore, he says, with regard to the subtle body, Vibhakti Avastha, distinct state. Vibhakti here means Vibhajaka, discriminating, specific. One should not confuse Sanskrit students. Don't confuse this word Vibhakti used here with what we used in Sanskrit classes, Pratama Vibhakti, Dutiya Vibhakti, etc. This Vibhakti is not that. Even though broadly you can say that is also a division. Discriminating one karaka from another karaka. That is Sanskrit. So here Vibhakti Avastha means a distinct state of experience, which is the Swapna Avastha, the dream state of experience. Even though the Sukshma Shariram is required for the waking state also, but in terms of its specific connection, it is with the dream state. Because in the dream state, the physical body is not required. Dream is exclusively a projection of the mind and which belongs to the Sukshma Shariram. The experiences that we have in the waking state are registered in the mind, registered over many past waking states, not only in the current Janma, but also in the previous Janmas. what all we have experienced is stored in the form of vasanas. Tattva students can recall. All those registered impressions, according to the law of karma, get activated during dream. And the Sukshma Shariram, the mind or Chittam, the memory, projects an inner world of objects and experiences. They are nothing but thoughts only. And since Sukshma Shariram contributes to our dream state, a dream is called the specific state associated with Sukshma Shariram. And that is why, many times, even when, first of all, when we have a dream and when we wake up, we may not remember the dream at all. That is one aspect of it. But suppose some aspects of the dream you are able to recall, you will actually wonder if these are experiences or this dream has happened because of the vasanas which have been stored in my chittam, but I don't remember having seen those places in this life. They are all new. Some places will look very, very familiar. Some things, some people, some characters, some events in the dream, totally, you have never experienced. Reason is, you have not experienced it in this life, but you have experienced this one of the past lives. Sometime, all those experiences are stored. And what happens is, when this dream state, the projection happens, it is not like what we do in a waking state, very logical progression and all. It's all random thoughts put together, like a kaleidoscope, when you have got a lot of crystals inside, and you turn it, it will all give different shapes. So that is why many dreams, we get confused. What is this dream? Why I have, you will suddenly, maybe somebody dreams that he is being chased by a serpent. He has never seen a serpent in his life now. Maybe only in the zoo or in photos. But the dream is he is being chased by a serpent. Now, in this life, he would not have done, but in one of the past lives, it might have happened. That experience is stored as a vasana, and that plays itself. Now, what is the sequence? Why it plays at that time and all? Nobody knows. That is Sukshma Shariram's secret. So the teacher mentions that Swamatra Seshena Vibhati Yatra. Yatra means Swapna Avasthayam, during the dream. Vibhati, shines. We have to add Atma or Jivatma, the individual self, Vibhati. Shines associated with Swamatra Seshena. Swamatra means Sukshma Sharira Matram. Only the subtle body. Why only subtle body? Because Sukshma Stula Shariram is not there. When you when you drop down in the bed, Stula Shariram is at rest, completely resolved. Sukshma Shariram alone is alive and functioning during the dream state. Sesha means as a reminder. So, Sesha Bhuta Sukshma Sharira Matrena. This is the further details of Sukshma Shariram. Atma shines during Swapna Avastha. Therefore, Swapna is the specific state, dream is a specific state associated with the Sukshma Shariram or the Linga Shariram, the subtle body. Now the Acharya continues the topic of Sukshma Shariram in the next verse, number 30. But this verse is in an irregular meter. We have got two types of meters. It's called Shamavrittam and Vishamavrittam. Regular meter and irregular meter. A regular meter we can chant or recite like a poem. Irregular meter is difficult to recite like a poem. So we have to read it like a prose. Therefore, this next sloka, we will read it like a prose. Sarva vyapti karanam lingamidam syat chidatmanah pumsah vasyadikamiva takshnaste naivatma bhavatya sangoyam. The Anvaya is, even though this is prose, but it's also here, he has mixed the words so that we have to do the Anvaya to understand the sloka. Idam lingam vasi adikam iva takshanaha sarva vyapriti karanam pumsaha chidatmanaha syat tena eva ayam atma asangaha bhavati. This is the Anvaya. If we do the Anvaya only, we can make out the meaning of these words. Idam, this, lingam, sukshma shariram, pumsaha, for the man or a jiva, chidatmanaha, the self which is in the form of consciousness, karanam syat, is an instrument. Vasi adhikam iva, so say vasyadhikam iva, vasi adhikam iva, like a chisel, etc. Takshanaha, for the carpenter. Sarva vyapriti, for all activities. Tena eva, because of that reason alone. I am Atma, this Atma, asangaha bhavati, remains unattached. So the subtle body for the man or a jiva, the self, which is in the form of consciousness, is an instrument like a chisel, etc. for a carpenter, for all activities. And because of that reason alone, this Atma remains unattached. So, Sarva Vyapritikaranam Lingam idam Lingam, this Sukshma Shariram is Sarva Vyapritikaranam. Vyapara, Vyapriti is from the word Vyapara. Vyapara means transaction. In the language, the transaction is defined as Anopadana. Ana Upadana, taking and giving, input and output. That's a transaction. Where all transactions involve receiving and giving. And for all transactions throughout the waking period, we use different instruments or tools which we enumerated earlier, Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani, Antakaranam, etc. Right? Prana. Prana, of course, is not a tool. It is not a Karana. You must remember. Prana is the housekeeper. It maintains a person alive and healthy. It does not participate in the worldly transaction. Therefore, it will not come under Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani, etc. Pancha pranas are purely meant for maintenance of the body, maintenance of all the other, this Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani and all that. Their proper maintenance are done by this prana, by Pancha pranas, including the 4 antakaranams. Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Hankara, all are different tools in the Sushma Shariram toolkit. 14 tools here, at least Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani, and 4 Antakaranam. 14 tools are there. It's like some if you have seen some of these workmen, who do the installation of some machinery, etc. They wear a special coat. In that coat, there will be so many pockets, compartments, hooks, etc. And all their work-related tools like screwdrivers, cutting pliers, hammer, chisels, spanners, rope, torchlight, walkie-talkie, everything has got a place in that coat. Sometimes they will be working at a height. For example, if they have to install tower of a mobile tower and all, they have to go up and install it. They will require so many tools. So they will wear one coat where everything is available and they know exactly where which tool is. So handy and organized. Similarly, when we wake up from sleep, the first thing we do in the waking state is put on the Sukshma Shariram toolkit. Then our day starts. Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani, Antakaranam, they take care. Thus, Sukshma Shariram is the toolkit or Karanam for Sarva Vyapriti, for all transactions, spiritual transactions, religious transactions, worldly transactions, for all types of transactions, good transactions, bad transactions, evil transactions, everything, even evil transactions become operational in Sukshma Shariram only. Therefore, Sarva Vyapriti Karanam. And it is a toolkit employed by whom? Pumsaha Chidatmanaha. Pumsaha means the human being. Puman means human. The word Puman, human being. Literally, of course, it means a man. But here we can translate it as human being because normally whenever we use he, she is included in that. In fact, he is included in she. Other way around. She is more embellished. 3 letters are there. He has got only 2 letters. If you remove the S only, it becomes he. Otherwise, with S, it is a she always. So, Chidatmanaha. Who is the Chidatma? Chidatma means Jivatma. But who in reality is the Paramatma? So, Paramatma here is also known as Jivatma. Chidatmanaha, Jivatmanaha, Pumsaha Karanam Syat is the instrument for the human being. Like what? He gives an example. Vasi adhikam iva takshanaha. Takshanaha means a carpenter. Iva means just as. Vasi adhikam. Just as a carpenter, Vasi adhikam. Vasi means a chisel or an instrument. He uses to chip off some portion of the wood to make furniture, etc. Isn't it? The carpenter. We have seen that. Different sizes of chisels he uses. That instrument in Sanskrit is called Vasi. And Adhikam means etc. So Vasi Adhikam means chisel and other instruments like hammer, pencil, tape measure, so many things, nail puller. So carpenter uses many tools. So they will all come under Vasi Adhikam. And a carpenter enjoys carpentry only when his instruments are there. The moment the instruments are gone, he is no longer a carpenter. Similarly, the Atma becomes a Karta Bhokta, that is, doer experiences, only when he puts on the coat of Sukshma Shariram. So, Wearing the coat of Sukshma Shariram, Atma appears to be Karta and Bhokta. And when it is dismantled, taken off, Atma by itself is Asangaha. Asangaha means unconnected to doership and enjoyership. Kartritva Bhoktritva Rahitam. Therefore, Vasyadikamiva Takshanaha. So, the Atma, for the Atma, the Sukshma Shariram is an instrument distorting the Paramatma into Karta, Bhokta, Jivatma. It is the Upadhi. Sukshma Shariram is the distorting Upadhi for the Atma, original Atma. But the Atma itself, Tena eva ayam Atma asangaha bhavati. Therefore, the Atma, because of this reason, should be understood as asangaha by itself. That means intrinsically the Atma is neither Karta nor a Bhokta. They are only transferred attributes, just as colored objects transfer their color attribute to a clear crystal and the crystal appears colored. So a Paramatma, which is the original nature, appears as a Jivatma because of the Sukshma Sarira Upadhi. Otherwise, by its own nature, it is Asangaha, unconnected, free. Therefore, I am the colorless crystal like Atma, and Sukshma Shariram is the colored object like the red flower. The color is what? Kartritvam, Bhoktritvam. That color is appearing in me. Therefore, the ignorant I claim I am a Karta, Bhokta, I am a doer and enjoyer, I am a Jivatma. That's why, often in our scriptures or even in our tradition, this clear crystal is a symbol of purity. It's called Spatika. And Spatika is given as an example of Atma. That's why that's one type of Shivalingam also they use. Spatika Lingam. With all these, if you look at it, all the tradition, our rites, rituals, etc., they will take us more and more and more towards making us realize our real nature. But it is all done in such a symbolical way that for a common man, it's very difficult to understand the symbolism behind it. That's why you require a guru. They also have this Patika Mala. Some people wear it for fashion, Patika Mala, It's because it is so pure and blemishless. It looks like, the diamond mala. They don't know why they are wearing a Spatika Mala. It's purity there. Okay, that much they will know. It's purity. That's why, crystal is given such an importance in our culture because it is one of the examples for Atma. Our tradition wants to remind us that we are ever pure like that crystal. So, tenaiva, because of this reason, the Sukshma Shariram toolkit alone seemingly makes us appear as Jivatma, Karta and Bhokta. And with this, the Sukshma Shariram topic is also completed. Of course, in the original text, Adi Shankara deals with Sukshma Shariram in so many verses. But here, we have condensed it into 2-3 verses. And those who get inspired by the study of the shorter version, if at all, you can go to the original and study everything. It's a very vast canvas. 585 or slokas are there in the original. So one can study rather depending upon one's inclination, time availability, interest, all that. Okay. Right now, then we will now enter the Karana Shariram topic. 1 second. We will read verse number 31. Avyaktanamni paramesha shakti anadya vidya triguణాత్మికా para karyanumeya sudhiyaiva maya yaya jagat sarvamidam prasuyate. The Anvaya is yaya idam sarvam jagat prasuyate. You can supply sa within the bracket. Sa maya avyakta namni paramesha shakti anadi avidya triguణాత్మికా sudhiya eva karya anumeya. Yaya, through which idam sarvam jagat, this whole world, prasuyate, is born, is created. Sa maya, that maya. Avyakta namni is called unmanifest. Paramesha Shakti is the power of the Lord who is limitless. Anadi avidya, beginningless ignorance. Triguణాత్మికా, of the nature of the three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Para, superior to her effects. Sudhiya eva, only by a person with a clear mind. Karya anumeya, to be inferred from her effects. So that Maya, through which this whole world is born, is called Avyakta. Avyakta means unmanifest, and is the power of the limitless Lord. She is the beginning of ignorance of the nature of three gunas, or she is the beginningless ignorance of the nature of three gunas, namely Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and superior to her effects. Her existence is to be inferred from her effects by a person with a clear mind. So Karana Shariram is the subtlest layer of the three bodies, innermost layer, finest layer. Therefore, comprehending the concept of Karana Shariram itself will require a lot of mental application. Because till now we saw Stula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, we can identify. You tell the parts, Jnanendriyani, Karmendriyani and all that, okay, you will say, I can identify with that. Even Antakaranam, Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, you will say, yeah, I can identify with that. Karana Shariram we have never seen. First time we hear of Karana Shariram only when we read Tattva Bodha. Nobody knows there is something called a Karana Shariram. So what you have never even envisaged, how can you visualize that? Therefore, understanding Karana Shariram will require a lot of mental application. But many students express, even after several years of study, Karana Shariram is not clear. It's very abstract and very, very fine. And this Karana Shariram does not go away at all until you attain moksha. You will keep this Karana Shariram until moksha, even after pralayam, creation after creation, cycles of creation after cycles of creation. This Karana Shariram will continue with you till you attain moksha eventually. As I said in the last class, during death, we only shed the physical body. During pralayam, we shed the sukshma shariram. But even after shedding those, we hold on to the karana shariram during creation and then creation after creation, in which we store all our punya papa karmas, including the potential sukshma sharirams of the future. Karana shariram will resolve only with self-knowledge. So Karana Shariram has got the longest life, finest body, most abstract. But we will try our best to understand it. You will get more clarity if you keep on revising this topic again and again. Okay. So to understand this Karana Shariram, we have to go to some background information which I gave you in the last class or probably in the previous class while introducing the Stula Sharira. That is, while introducing the 27th verse, I said Vedic cosmology is there in Vedanta. That topic you have to recollect here. What is the principle of this cosmology? First, Vedanta says a product can never come out of nothing. In fact, there are two philosophies or two views regarding creation. One set of thinkers say that the creation came out of nothing. They are normally called Nayayikas. They follow the Nyaya philosophy, Nayayikas. And their philosophy is called Asat Karyavada. Something coming out of nothing. Advaita Vedanta rejects Asat Karyavada. What we say, if something has to originate, it should come out of something else. There must be something, a seed or a cause, in which it must already be there in a potential form. Otherwise, nothing can come out of nothing. If we see a plant coming out of the earth, we know that before the origination of the plant, under the ground, there must have been a seed. We can easily infer that. If the seeds are not there, plants cannot just like that germinate. And this principle, this logic that every product should have a cause, we extend to the entire cosmos. Fortunately for us, modern science also talks about Big Bang theory of the evolution of the universe. And if you ask them about the state of before the Big Bang, Big Bang, if it is T1, what was the state T0? They say, according to their theory, that state is called singularity. Singularity is a state of no information. Scientists admit we are unable to understand what was there before the Big Bang. So they call it singularity, given a name. And we say that even if we accept the Big Bang theory, that was the evolution, there must be the potential for the evolution of all the stars, the planets, galaxies, etc. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Tasmad va tasmad atmana akasha sambhutah akashat vayuhu vayoragnihi agnerapah adbyah prithvi prithivya oshadayah oshadibhyonnam annat purushah. So the entire evolution process beautifully is explained in Taittiriya Upanishad. There is something, from that something else come. From the Atma, from the Brahman, combination of Brahman and Maya, space came. First to come is space, Akasha hai. Then from Akasha, Vayu came. From Vayu, Agni, fire came. From fire, water came. From water, Prithvi, the earth came. From Prithvi, this Oshadaya means all plants, everything, the entire plant life came. Oshadibhyo annam. From this plant life only food came. And from the food, Purusha, a human being, all beings came rather. Therefore, there must be the seed in a potential form, and that seed of this entire cosmos is called Avyaktam, unmanifest. Therefore, before the evolution of the universe, there were two things. One is the seed of the universe, which is called now Avyaktam, the unmanifest, but existing. It is existing in a seed form. Seed form means what? Unmanifest form. And there is a second thing also, that is the consciousness principle, as revealed by Vedanta. Modern science, as of today, is unable to accept the existence of consciousness, but they do not totally dismiss it. Their inability is due to the absence of any scientific instrument to know the existence of consciousness and measure it. But Vedanta reveals the nature of consciousness as eternal and all-pervading. Therefore, before the Big Bang, before the evolution of the cosmos, there were two entities. There was Atma, the Chaitanyam, the consciousness, and Anatma. That Anatma here is called Avyaktam. So you say Avyakta Anatma. So this is the first point to be remembered. Otherwise, we will be totally lost in understanding Karana Sharira. Because there has got to be a Karanam for everything that happens. There has got to be a cause. And in this Avyakta Anatma, everything must be potentially there. What did this mean? Whatever is produced or manifests later must be potentially there in that. That means what? Both the individual micro universe, that is like various individuals and also whatever we see, and also the macro universe, the galaxies, the planets, etc. All these things must have been potentially there in a seed form, must have existed. So therefore, we divide the entire creation into micro and macro, living beings and inert universe. All of them must be there in seed form. From that alone, Sukshma Shariram of all living beings originate. Therefore, the Sukshma Shariram of every living being must be there in that cosmic Avyaktam. Every Sukshma Shariram or subtle body must be there in potential form. Every physical body also should be there in potential form. The possibility should be there. So the Avyaktam It's like a software which has got the entire coding, the genetic codes of all Sukshma Sharirams and Stula Sharirams. Why? Because both of them have to be created later only. At this point in time, they are unmanifest, but potentially there. And not only the Stula Sukshma Shariram must be in seed or potential form, the corresponding universes also must be there. Because with the help of Stula Shariram, I experience the gross universe, and with the help of my Sukshma Shariram, the mind and intellect, I am able to experience the subtle universe of emotions like love, hate, anger, etc. There is a world of emotions, there is a world of ideas, world of concepts. All these are now called subtle universe. Therefore, corresponding to the Stula Shariram, we have got a Stula Prapancha, and corresponding to the Sukshma Shariram, we have got a Sukshma Prapancha. If you go to a huge library, millions of books are there. Books are the hardware. But every word, every sentence in each book refers to ideas, concepts, which we do not see. If we see the book, we can't see what is contained. Like that, another example, CDs, pen drives, etc., storage media are there. They are visible. But the vast amount of data that they contain is in the invisible form. And that's why, the cloud and all that we talk about now. The invisible part of the universe is stored in the cloud, so that the cloud is the invisible universe, the Sukshma Prapancha. So, two new words have been introduced. Stula Prapancha and Sukshma Prapancha. We have seen Stula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. Shariram is micro, Prapancha is macro. And all these four, Sukshma Shariram, Stula Shariram, Sukshma Prapancha, Stula Prapancha. Sorry, Sukshma Shariram, Sukshma Prapancha, Stula Shariram, and Stula Prapancha. All these four emerge or originate at the time of creation from that cosmic Avyakta, that singularity, the point of no information. So this Avyakta is now associated with two seed versions. Stula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram must have been in seed form. And this form, this seed form of these two Sharirams, Stula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, is called Karana Shariram. And the seed version of the macro, the Prapancha, the universe, is called Karana Prapancha. So both Karana Shariram and Karana Prapancha, the two seed versions, are included in one cosmic Avyaktam. And to convey this, Vedanta uses two distinct Sanskrit words. Karana Shariram, the micro version, is called Avidya. Avidya means Karana Shariram, which was there before the Big Bang in the Avyaktam, which alone is responsible for our current Sukshma Stula Sharirams. Correspondingly, the Karana Prapancha, the macro version incorporated in that Avyaktam, is called Maya. So at the individual and the micro level, that Avyaktam, that unmanifest seed, is called Avidya. At the macro level, at the level of the universe, that is called Maya. More we will see. in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Guruji, Dhanyavadah.
Dhanyavadah.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Guruji.
Thank you very much,
Hari Om
Guruji.
Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you very much, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Namaskaram, Guruji. Thank you very
Namaskaram.
much.
Enjoy your.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om. Yes, Hari Ji.
Guruji, I have two doubt. No, one is not doubt. One is only a request. Whatever you have now taught us in the last phase, no, in today's class, about the Karana Shariram and Karana Prapancham, that I hope you will take it again in the next class.
Naturally, I mean, this is the topic is not over. We are not even come to the shloka. We are only discussing some background information.
No, even the background information.
I mean, yeah, this thing will start from there only, where we left off, you know, like a relay race only normally I do.
Yeah.
But the concept is clear, you know, there has got to be a cause. If there is an effect, there has got to be a cause.
No, I don't know, probably I may ask that in the next class, because when we are talking about Karana Shariram, the causal body, I always understood that as the Vasana. Vasana as the causal or the seed form of our...
Asana is only one aspect of the whole thing.
Okay, that is why it is. I think when you are teaching us in the next class, probably I will be able to get a little more.
Basically, what we have to understand is Karana Shariram is the seed form for both Stula and Sushma Shariram. Not only the present, but all future Sushma and Stula Sharirams also. That is all stored in the Karana Shariram. That much you must understand as of now. That's all. Remaining we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is and I have one more doubt, but it is not directly related to what you taught us today, but indirectly related. That is in connection with Prarabdha and Sanchita. But if it is not to be taken now, I will
No. I
do it
don't
in the next.
see, Hariji, there are different levels of students. Some students are being exposed to this new. So I don't want to give ideas to them and so they were totally confused. Right? Some people have the background of that. So we will talk about that when the time comes. Rather. Because in this Vivekachudamani itself, we will talk about karma and all those things. At that time, Chita, Prarabdha, all that we will talk about. Okay.
No, since you started teaching us Karana, so that will be connected with the Prarabdha and Sanchita.
But that is a different. Here, Karana, we are focusing only on the seed. When we come to Prarabdha, Sanchita and all, as I told you, Karana Shariram also, all the Punya Papas are stored there. Right?
Okay.
So that is another aspect of the Karana Shariram. So Karana Shariram has got many aspects. We will discuss all of them before we...
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yes, Sitaramanji.
Yeah, you answered my question partly in response to Hariji. But again, to my understanding, I'll summarize, having been through Tattva-bodha also.
Yeah.
Karana Sharira encompasses Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira. Sthula Sharira falls by wayside throughout till the attainment of moksha. Sukshma Sharira guides Sthula Sharira, and Karana Sharira encompasses both and remains alive till moksha. Is that right?
Then come again. What did you say about Stula Sharira? It goes away when
Stula Sharira is temporary.
For one birth.
Yes, for one birth. Sukshma Sharira continues in the next birth also, whatever form it is.
Till this cycle of creation comes to an end.
Yeah, Karana Sharira continues till the Pralaya or till the person attains moksha.
Correct. Karana Sharira continues beyond Pralaya till the person attains moksha. Correct.
Moksha. Right, right. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the only way to get rid of this Karana Sharira, and Karana Shariram, if you just understand the seed, see, it gives fruit. From the fruit, another seed comes, correct? If you look at a tree, how does a tree perpetuate itself?
Yeah, another seed comes.
Another seed comes. So it will go on like that. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. So the only way to stop this cycle of rebirths is to get rid of this Karana Shariram. That's the secret. How to get rid of Karana Shariram? Only by self-knowledge, by moksha alone. That's the only way. Otherwise, you will be caught in this cycle of rebirths. And also caught in samsara, birth after birth after birth. That's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Hariom. Yes, Lataji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
I was not there for the last class, but then I was listening to the session. I've been listening to the talk of all the classes that I have, sessions that I have attended so far. That one appeared very clished, very difficult to grasp for me. But then I will go through it once again, especially the 8 puras that Adi Shankara has described, and then which you have. I'll listen to it. I need to listen to it again and again, of course. Up to the avidya itself is a pura. That's something new for this.
He talks this. I mean, because it's one of the aspects of the entire Jivatma.
Yeah.
So when he's talking about it, in fact, in Tattva Bodha, if you look at Tattva Bodha, there they don't talk about avidya, etc. But here in Vivekachudamani, he has added all these things. Okay, so he makes it 8 puris rather, where he is bringing all the aspects which are there for the Jivatma, from a Jivatma perspective rather. That's what he does.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And just this another, I just have one more question. That is, both Karana Sharira and Sukshma Sharira, they're again reflective. They're reflecting the consciousness.
Yeah.
When they leave the body is declared. I mean, the body is dead. So after they leave the body as well, they continue to be reflective.
They have
because Atma is everywhere, and they have to be.
But they cannot be identified
Because of no body.
Because of no body. They can be identified only through the physical body.
Right.
Karana Shariram, even with physical body, you cannot identify. Karana Shariram is a logical conclusion of the Shastra for the why certain things happen. That is what it is. Karana Shariram cannot be proved. Karana Shariram is conceptual.
Only concluded.
Can
be only concluded.
It can be, it's an inference. Karana Shariram is an inference. We see that there is a rebirth happening, which from other evidences we come to know. For example, very simple thing, some people suddenly remember, oh, in my last birth, I was so and so and so and so and so place. We have seen those stories and all in media, isn't it? They go to that place. They even identify the people, oh, this person was my father, this person was my mother in my last birth. So there is something from the last birth, and they even narrate that this is the way I died in the last birth. So that's all stored somewhere. That information is there. How? We have to explain. Similarly, there is a mango tree. The tree dies, but more mangoes come. Take the example of a plantain tree rather. How many trees come out of one plantain tree? So the Shastra questions, how do I explain all these things? You cannot say something has come out of nothing, but that never happens. If something was to come out of nothing, then why in some places mango tree is coming, in some places coconut tree is coming, some places human beings are coming, some places animals are coming? Why? You can't give explanation. So the Asatkarya Vada is absolutely dismissed by Vedanta. There is nothing. There has got to be a cause for an effect to be there. When you perceive an effect, there has got to be a cause. That's the logic rather. So the logically speaking, Karana Shariram, they bring in the concept of Karana Shariram in order to explain that there is this seed form. And that is the whole thing about Maya. When we understand Maya, Maya is what? Nothing but the seed form of this entire universe. So all that we will discuss about all these things, including the process of how this reflection of the consciousness takes place and all. It will all come when we discuss more. We'll see that process.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guruji. I just have one more question which is totally unrelated to this class, but then yesterday morning when I was sitting for meditation, I thought this question suddenly came up. We described the various chakras in the body, from Mooladhara to Sahasrara. So those chakras are Atma or Anatma?
Chakras are all Anatma. They are all attached to your body, right?
Okay, but because they're energy centers, they say it's energy centers, so I thought it was Atma.
That's all, it's all there. That's again yoga, Ashtanga yoga philosophy rather, right? So chakras are there as physical locations in our body, right? But they are all part of the Sukshma Sharira.
Okay.
They explain that chakras for how the life, the prana goes out of this body. That is their way of looking at it. This is how the prana goes. Vedanta doesn't bother how the prana goes out of the body, right?
No. They are considered the energy centers. Each chakra has a different energy for different.
Correct.
That's okay.
So yeah, and then the Mooladhara chakra, it goes up to their head and all that. And what is that? Anahati chakra, something like that and all. I don't know much about Yoga Shastra. Then it leaves the body and all that, right? Vedanta says dead body. Why we need to go and do postmortem? Why it has left the body, how it has left and all, we don't care. We are worried about Atma. What is that consciousness is what our subject matter is. So we don't bother about, all the chakra business and all that.
This is not how the body Atma lives. It's regarding something else. That question. It's just an academic question. So no problem. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. I mean, to the best extent of my knowledge, I will explain. Vedanta doesn't talk about this chakra. Stula Shariram, according to Vedanta, is just a one-time thing. It finishes with that. That's all.
Okay.
Guruji, in that way, can we say when you are talking about Karna Sharira, that is the unmanifest form of our ignorance, and our present body, mind, and intellect is the manifest form of our ignorance?
Yes. Our identification with the body, mind, and sense complex is the manifestation of the ignorance which is there in unmanifest form in the Karana Sharira. You are absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, what's your question? Sorry?
After you said that when the death is there, the the Sukshma Sharira will leave the body. And after that, there are a lot of religious karyas that are being done. Is that, and you said that is already this Sukshma Shariram last time will already, where it will go, it's already decided as soon as it leaves the body. Then what is the function of all these karyams that is done when person is dead for the next 10 days or 13 days, 12 days, like that?
They are all meant for Veda Purva Bhaga people who follow all that, who don't have any understanding of what Upanishad Veda Anta teaching is. So,
Okay.
see, these are all meant for certain purposes, for a proper, what I would say, functioning of the society as a whole, with certain reverence, with certain respect for the departed soul and things like that and all. Otherwise, what will happen? A person dies, nobody then, in many cultures, not culture, many families rather, they won't even bother. In fact, they will pray for the person to die, so that they can get hold of all his assets and his money rather, right? When the old fellow is not dying and all that. There is no such, attachment or, emotional feeling towards other people rather. And our Vedic system is such that whether you are alive or you are dead, every human being owes a very huge debt to one's own ancestors and to the people, with whom we live in this world rather. Because nobody can exist even for a day without this entire infrastructure being there. And ours is a reverence-based culture. Whatever we receive, we are thankful, we are grateful, we show our gratitude rather. Similarly, even though we are unaware, we are ignorant of what happens when this Sukshma Shariram leaves this body, in what manner it leaves, we are ignorant. But it is just like telling somebody, bon voyage. Somebody is going overseas, what we say, have a nice flight, have a safe flight, and all, enjoy your trip, like that. That's why, in our culture, in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, later on we will talk, in Bhagavad Gita, this thing, he talks about Uttarayanam, Dakshinayanam, right? So, what is that Uttarayanam, traveling, person dying in Uttarayanam, person dying in Dakshinayanam, what are the different paths those Sukshma Shariram will take and all that? Even Krishna himself will talk about it. But from a philosophical point of view, actually not even philosophical, from a practical point of view, whenever somebody dies, our prayer is what? Let that Sukshma Shariram, which we call Atma, again mistaken identity, let it have a Sadgati, let it have a smooth travel, let it go wherever it wants to go, to Pitraloka or wherever it wants to, let that journey be a safe journey. We have no idea about the journey other than what the Shastras talk. Some Puranas talk about very difficult journey, it has lived in this earth for so long, it is going into unknown territory, it will go through some fire and some water.
Like Garuda Purana.
Garuda Purana talks a lot of things rather, right? We don't know. Nobody has seen and come back and said, this is what happened to me. Right? But Garuda Purana says, so from that perspective, we do all these rites, rituals and things like that and all to give a safe and, happy send off for that. As a thank you, as a gratitude, you have lived in this earth for so long, you have contributed so much, you have contributed to my life. In fact, my parents, I would not have been here what I am, but for my parents. I need to, maximum gratitude I have to give to my parents rather, because even worst of circumstances, they would have starved, but ensured that I am fed rather. So many emotional things are attached to that. That is why, in order to perpetuate that what I would say, the attitude of reverence, all these tarpanam and this radham and this, all these are meant for that only. And when you become a moksha purusha, when you become a sannyasi, and that matter, you have attained, you have understood the reality of this entire universe, then all these things all do not have any relevance for you, right?
Yeah.
But you say the only real thing is Atma, my consciousness. All other things are all appearances, including the entire Vedas are appearances. So, that's the extreme kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But
good, very nice. Thank you.
What is the purpose of all these things?
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Suveka ji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
I have two questions. The first one, could you clarify what you mean by the word resolved? I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding that meaning when something is resolved.
Resolved.
Does it mean that it's
becomes inactive?
Inactive. Okay, thank you.
Resolved does not mean dissolved.
No, not dissolved, but just wondering what that...
Inactive, rather.
Right. My second question is around the Karana Sharira, and it's even hard to articulate the question because the understanding of what you have just discussed has been a lot to really try. Even the understanding hasn't yet come. So trying to articulate a question to get more understanding is in itself, I'm finding difficult.
Yeah.
But my question around Karana Sharira is that as it is a seed, the potentiality of all things in a seed form, does it evolve at all, or is it always in a potentiality of all? But the word potential itself, I'm having some difficulty with. It seems as if, say, for example, if we are, increasing our understanding or becoming more aware, our chitta shuddhi is becoming more purified, would that not have an effect on the Karana Sharira? Or is everything in the Karana Sharira something related to, I guess the question really comes around destiny, or is it already pre-assumed that our Karana Sharira holds all potentials? Or is there some way that as our Sukshma Sharira is becoming more and more expanded, or maybe more and more aware, or more and more purified, does that have any impact on the Karana Sharira, or is that always just a seed form that includes all potentialities? I'm not even sure if my question
I think I broadly understand what your question is, but there are a lot of details involved in answering that. But I will not go into too much detail, but I will answer only one aspect which will probably clarify all other aspects also that you have got. You see, when I say Karana Shariram, one of the most important aspects of the Karana Shariram is where your punya and papas are stored. All your karmas are stored. Okay. And for each birth, from that stored karmas, one set of karmas, they fructify, and you get a particular body, particular life, particular place where you are born, whether you are male, female, etc. All that is determined by that fructifying karmas, which are stored in Karana Sharira. Okay. Now, what is the result of that? That result of that Punya Papa is that in the life that you get, you are presented with a set of circumstances which could be pleasant circumstances or unpleasant circumstances, depending upon the nature of the Punya or Papa. Okay. Up to that level is destination driven. But what is your response to those circumstances? How do you deal with those circumstances? Is free will driven. So when you are actually doing when your question is, when I am purifying my Sukshma Sharira, basically your Chitta Shuddhi is happening, right? Obviously, your Sukshma Sharira, which is stored, which will be as even you do all these things, study Vedanta, and attend these classes, imbibe all the knowledge, etc. There is a change going on in the Sukshma Sharira. When this body will die, the Sukshma Shariram will depart from this body will not be the same Sukshma Shariram with which this body came. Because during this birth also, the Sukshma Shariram has undergone many changes in terms of new vasanas have been created, new impressions have come. Correct? So if the Sukshma Shariram, or especially the mind, has become purer in this life, when it goes and takes another body, and I'm assuming that you don't reach moksha in this janma, that you take another body, that Sukshma Shariram, right from the beginning, will be a more purer form of Sukshma Shariram, not the same Sukshma Shariram with which you are born now. So similarly, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, they both keep on undergoing change till the last moment rather. Karana Shariram also, depending upon what karmas you do in this birth, that vasanas, the punya papas, everything will get add-on, recorded in the Karana Shariram. So the Karana Shariram with which you depart, the Karana Shariram which departs your body is not the same Karana Shariram with which you were born. So these things undergo a change certainly. So every time we get a modified Karana Shariram and a modified Sukshma Shariram whenever we leave a human body. Whereas in the case of all other living beings like animals and plants, there the Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, they live as it was original. Because they have no karmas, they have no punya papas, they have no free will at all. The whole problem comes here is because of the free will. Free will is actually a blessing. Free will is also a curse. If you use your free will positively for good things, it is a blessing. The same free will can be misused by human beings for doing all wrong things. It becomes a curse rather. But whatever you do, it is all getting recorded. Don't think, oh, if I die, everything will go away. Okay, this body, mind, sense complex may not know. But another body, when you take, all those experiences will come back to you. You will have to suffer at that time. Isn't it? So that is how the whole process happens. I hope little bit of clarity I have been able to give.
Yes, thank you, Guruji. It was very clear, actually. It clarified my doubts, and my understanding is, I think, a little bit more. But I will be rewatching, I think, and contemplating. Thank you so much. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you. Any more question?
Guruji, the subtle body, is it included in Karna Sharira? Our mind and intellect? This is a gross body.
They are in potential form in the Karna Sharira.
I couldn't get you.
When this subtle body is there right now,
yeah,
it is
manifested. Mind and intellect.
Mind and intellect only parts of the subtle body, right? So the mind and intellect are manifest in this janma, in this subtle body.
Yeah.
From where it has manifested? There has got to be a seed for that.
Okay.
That seed is in the Karma Shariram. So when the subtle body leaves this physical body at the time of death, that subtle body travels along with the Karma Shariram as a seed. And the next time when you take, when the subtle body assumes another Shariram, physical body, it becomes manifest.
Okay.
Understand?
Right.
You have to keep
I think
thinking
so.
and try to understand the whole scheme
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It is not so easy as we.
It's not so.
As I.
I gave a disclaimer. This Karana Shariram is a very difficult thing. But without understanding Karana Shariram, there is no Vedanta.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Hariom. Okay. Thank you
Hariom.
all. We'll see you next week. Hariom.
Hariom.